Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna check how to play with Mirabel. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, La Fuertota here is a protect machine type character, which is pretty good. Honestly, we didn't have that many machine type characters, so that's nice. Besides, I think she's the first protective character. Let me just check that. I mean, protect machine. So we put machine here and assist, suppress to, assist to. Yeah, she's the first protect machine type character that we have. That's amazing. So let's check very quickly all of her skills and what she brings to the table. So first of all, we gotta start with her leader skill. So they decided to make her kind of special. So, at the start of battle, 60% of particles are charged. That is basically her real leader skill. The other part of the leader skill is the uniqueness of her ultimate, which, we have seen that kind of super mode with the previous ultimate of Noah and the ultimate of Su, yeah. So what does this particular ultimate does? Puts on an exoskeleton suit while ultimate effect is active, allowing her to use close combat, riot tackle, and storm missiles. After using the ultimate, pressing the ultimate button again or waiting for 15 seconds triggers an area attack around the character and ends ultimate effect. So you enter a super mode where you have special skills, and these also have cooldown as usual. This mode gives you super armor. You're not gonna be interrupted, but you take damage. Careful there. That is a characteristic of Mirabel. Whenever she gets into the armor, not only because of the ultimate, but also because of her skills, she's gonna gain super armor. So she's not getting interrupted, but she is vulnerable to attacks, so careful when you use your super armor skills. Now, let's check all of her skills, starting with Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is the basic enhancer, range attack, hold attack, enhance normal attacks, and fire bullets that penetrate the enemy. Okay, it says penetrate, but we're gonna say pierce. By piercing, it means that it goes through the enemy and it will hit an enemy behind it. Which is nice. It allows you to deal with waves of enemies pretty easily. One supporter increases damage by 10%, two supporters increase damage by an additional 20%, and three supporters increase particle charge amount by 50%. This is going to be very important because you do want to use your ultimate or your actives for the weapons. Mirabel really likes to use those particles. Now, we have Spread Shot, which is the pure color skill for either green, blue, or red. Range attack, hold attack, 12-second cooldown, fires shotgun shells, and performs additional attack. If used during the ultimate effect, shotgun shells change into 4 missiles. Additional attacks are added if slot effect is applied. Additional attacks are added. Okay, usually it's effects. So, 3 green, increase the attack range for shotgun shells and missiles. Which, it's nice, but not that important. This character is very particular. It's both melee and range in how she plays. She has a ton of range attacks and she can play far away from the enemy. But at the same time, there are other attacks that incentivize you to get near the enemy, so take that into consideration. While this effect isn't super important, it has its uses in green. Now, what about blue? Decreases enemies' defense by 30% for 10 seconds. That's amazing. Amazing. Pretty good effect. You really want to use this. Lastly, on red, it stuns the enemies. Usually these effects are pretty mid, but particularly for Mirabel, this is actually pretty good. Because it's not a single hit attack, it's an AoE attack. And that's really good for farming. because enemies, when you farm, do not have super armor. Most of them don't have super armor. So you're going to stun the mobs and they're not gonna hit you. That's amazing. I mean, for PvP it's kind of okay-ish, but at the same time not, because the AI might not get close to the enemy. So it is better to use this on dailies on red rather than on PvP. Then, Fire Support. Fire Support is a range tag, hold the bait, 14-second cooldowns, call in artillery support in front, and performs an area attack. 1 green increases the speed by 10% for 10 seconds, 2 green adds 4 additional attacks, and 3 green increase critical damage by 250%. That's extremely good. It is an amazing skill. The only disadvantage is that you need to crit, and that means that this is not going to be that great on VR, but it's still a pretty good attack in every other mode. Then we have Close Combat. Close Combat is a melee attack, hold the bait, 13-second cooldown, put on an exoskeleton suit, and swing a knife, stomping on the ground at last, performing an area attack. Super armor is applied when the skill is in use. Yeah, whenever it says put on an skeleton suit, that's guaranteed super armor, just so that you know. Which is fine. And let's check the set effects. 1 red, increase the damage by 10% for 10 seconds. Nice. 2 red, increase area of attacks by 40%. Okay, that's better. The bigger the range, the better. 3 red, increase critical rate by 50%. So, that's okay-ish. There's always going to be weird numbers, but the thing is that a red has a ton of damage increase effects, and it would have benefited more if this was the skill damage increase rather than the critical rate, because this means that we cannot, we don't want to use this that much on VR. Number one, because you are going to get in front of the enemy, and that's risky, and you cannot be interrupted, so that's even riskier. And number two, it doesn't deal as much damage because technically you want to crit, but you will probably not crit on VR. So, I mean, in every other kind of content, it is fine, just fine. Especially because the extra critical rate allows you to use things like Barretta, for example. Then, we have Combat Turret. Combat Turret is a familiar attack, just so that you know. Double dash, 10-second cooldown, summon 1 turret that automatically attacks the enemy for 8 seconds at a designated place. 2 green increase the turret duration for 3 seconds, making this 11 seconds. By the way, you cannot have 2 of the same summon at the same time, at least coming from the same skill, just so that you know. So that you don't try to use 2 turrets for 1 second. It's not gonna happen. The other one disappears and then you summon the new one. 2 blue. Reduce skill cooldown by 20%, which also works because basically you have you can cycle into this and have it always active. And 2 red, increase the turret's damage by 20%. While the damage seems appealing, truth be told, the turret needs a ton more damage. It is not a bad skill, it is just that it doesn't have enough damage to justify using this. There are still scenarios when you can use this, but from all the skills, this is the weakest one, just so that you know. Then we have Storm Missiles. Range attack, double dash, 12-second cooldown, puts on an exoskeleton suit, and fires 2 missiles from her left hand. Super armor is applied when skill is used. 1 blue decreases enemy's defense by 10% for 10 seconds. 2 blue adds 2 additional attacks. 3 blue increases skill damage by 150%. That's honestly one of her strongest skills. The strongest one is green, if you can crit. And after that, the strongest one would be Storm Missiles. The weakest one being Close Combat. Not that weak, but still weakest in comparison. Now, then we have Command Assemble. Command Assemble is a perfect dodge. Immediately before enemy attack, dodge, 16-second cooldowns, or performing an extreme dodge summons 1 XPS11 a bone that automatically attacks the enemies for 10 seconds. So these are pretty good because they are going to distract the enemies. They do not take damage, they are invincible, so that's nice. Their damage isn't like anything impressive. It is the utility that they provide what really matters. And then we have the set effects. With 2 green, increase the speed by 20% for 7 seconds. With 2 blue, increase the duration of XPS11A bone for 5 seconds, making that 15 seconds. Basically, you're gonna always have this if you go blue. And 2 red, increase damage by 20% for 7 seconds. All of these effects are nice. It's a shame that these go up to 7 seconds. If it was 10, I would love these numbers. It would be perfect. But they decided to balance it. Due to the cooldown getting reduced with the skill effects. So it is fine. It is fine for the most part. Now, Blitzkrieg. Okay, so Blitzkrieg is going to be a melee attack and a range attack at the same time. As you can see in the animation, first you do a barrage of attacks, and then you use your gun, your rifle, your assault rifle, to just gain distance. It is pretty good for a range attacker that also plays melee, because it is extremely fast and you're gonna gain distance. That's why this skill is actually good. Usually these kind of skills would be bad on range attackers, but Mirabell appreciates just how fast it attacks. So, dash attack, 11-second cooldowns, charges forward and swings the knife to perform a consecutive attack, and step backwards, firing a gun, performing an additional attack. This works on the main, so if you have a main green, you restore 3% of damage dealt. That's good and bad at the same time. If you hit multiple enemies, you're gonna restore a ton of HP. If the enemy has a lot of damage reduction, and I mean a lot, kind of a boss damage reduction, you're not gonna recover that much HP. I wish this had the HP recover integrated into all the colors, but that's not the case. It is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then, set main blue. Charges 7% of particles. I mean, okay, I guess. Mirabel does want to charge particles, but this is the kind of effect that gets replaced whenever we get that renewal, so it is not that important. Set main red. Adds 3 additional attacks. Okay, it already deals a decent amount of damage, and you're increasing it a little bit more. And it's still very fast, so it's okay-ish at most. Honestly, you basically want to use this on green for the most part because of the HP recovery. Mirabell doesn't have other ways to recover HP, so you're gonna rely on your team or your supporters to have HP recovery for blue or red. Then, command Scramble. Melee attack, range attack. Immediately after enemy attacks, evade. 7-second cooldown. Immediately after taking a hit, throw a flashbang in front, stun the enemy, and step back. At the same time, summon 1 XPS11A bone and perform a charge attack forward. So, while the counters are not that great, I think that this attack is actually pretty good. Because as I mentioned, Mirabell is going to constantly go in front and charging to the enemies, which is something that exposes her a lot. So a counter is extremely useful in those cases. I mean, you can use it almost always, but you prefer not to, unless you know that the enemies are going to be right in front of you. So this works on all colors, so it's better for mixed builds. And the green set reduces a skill cooldown by 20%. The blue one makes the enemy groggy, and the red one increases skill damage by 25%. On 7-second cooldown, that's fine, honestly. It means that you have utility so that the enemy gets away from you. But for the most part, you prefer combat assault because you just need one perfect evade and then they have a target to try and hit. Then, Riot Tackle. This is the other dash attack. So, melee attack, dash attack, 12-second cooldown, puts on an exoskeleton suit, shoulder tackle, and swing a fist to knock back the enemy. Super armor is applied when a skill is used. 2 green increases speed by 10% for 7 seconds. 2 blue decreases the enemy's defense by 20% for 7 seconds. 2 red charge 7% of particles. Again, very useless on green, but extremely useful on all the other colors. So, now that we know what these skills do, let me tell you what Mirabell is able to do. She has 2 main roles. Basically, she's gonna be either a debuffer or a main attacker. Preferably as a main attacker, she goes with green builds for critical or with blue builds for damage increase. In the case of her supportive capabilities, she can do a ton of things thanks to the weapons and supporters available in the game, and also her effects. Mainly, as a character, what she has integrated into her kits is going to be this 30% defense reduction, and this 20% defense reduction both on blue. That's really good. What else can she do as a supporter? Well, she can summon the bone, this thing, and the turret, which is going to do a ton of multi-hits, which can activate different effects. And she also has the weapons to take into consideration and the supporters. For weapons, right now she has the Momochi weapon and Valiant Sigurd. The Momochi weapon, of course, pretty easy to use. Just with her basics, she's going to be able to shred the enemy's defense, or well, increase your damage. And with Valiant Sigurd, she's going to be able to break super armor with the active, which is extremely useful. But we're gonna see that in a moment. Also, another highlight is Plasma Rifle. And for supporters, she cannot be a buffer unless you use supporters that provide buffs, like her own supporter. In that case, she's going to be a supporter, a buffer. But naturally, she doesn't do that. She's a supporter with debuffing capabilities or, let's say, taunting capabilities, also super armor breaking capabilities, and a main attacker. So those are her roles. Now, let's try her. And we're gonna start with the colors first. But unfortunately, this might be long. And why do I say so? Because she has such an insane number of combinations that she can do, thanks to the kind of synergies of her kit. So, let's see. We're gonna start with green. We're gonna use the rebellious weapon, the Momochi weapon. This is 2 out of 5, as you can see, and this one is 1 out of 5, plus 14 both of them, with critical damage increase Magatemas, whatever Magatemas on the subslot. Riot Tackle to increase speed. Command Assemble to increase speed. No, I'm gonna change Riot Tackle for Blitzkrieg. Why? Because they have the same duration. I mean, I could due to the duration of this skill, or well, the cooldown, I could transition into Riot Tackle so that I always have some form of speed increase, but I don't really care about it. But if you care about that and you want to have always that speed buff, have both of these skills equipped. But I'm going to change it for Blitzcrank, and of course Fire Support just to deal massive amount of damage. For supporters, classic crit supporters, all of them 5 out of 5. And customs, stats of the customs. I only have these, and the stat training, I barely move it. I have 11 points, so yeah. Let's check what she can do on floor 100. The other floors are kind of difficult since I don't have enough copies of the weapons, so I'll do step 100. So her stats are not exactly busted. She's actually a balanced supporter. Calling her a jack of all trades would be inaccurate because she can do a ton of things. As I mentioned, she can be a supporter, debuffer, super armor breaker, and main attacker. But she doesn't buff, she doesn't heal the party, so that's one thing to take into consideration. Yeah, the speed increase is very, very good for her. Let's see, can I? No, I didn't. Oh, well, I hit some. Yeah, like that, almost. Okay, like that, perfect. Excellent. Nice, nice, nice. So, next I'm going to heal. I thought that the healing was pretty mid, but actually it's not that bad. It is pretty competent for a damage heal. Due to the amount of multi-hits and that it's not that weak of a skill. Also, I'm going to use the ultimate so that you see the super mode and you can check my skills. I'm going to change my skills and I'm going to unlock the 4th slot, which is pretty nice. And you summon these two things, which also work as taunters. So it's pretty nice. Also, when the ultimate is about to finish, you want to be next to the enemy so that you explode and deal damage, but I finished with the enemy before that happened. While you see me doing this and I don't need to heal that much, truth be told, if you're on the early game, do not pick Mirabell unless you have a ton of copies of the weapons. And if you're in the mid game, you're going to receive a lot of damage. I didn't because I have the awakening skills, but Mirabell is going to be kind of squishy. But we can mitigate that. We can. How do we do so? Well, if you have certain damage reduction supporters, for example, Hisui is a good option. You can just become way more tanky. There's also the option of Onisaki Kirara, which honestly is a great option because it's going to increase her healing capabilities of Blitzkrieg. And there's also, where is the one that I'm looking for? Well, you can use the classic combo of Ichika with Heaviko with the Momochi weapon so that you gain a 30% damage reduction because you poison the enemy, because you hit an enemy with a debuff. So that's another combo that you can use. But I am looking for this one, Aina. Aina is an excellent F2P option that you can use. And not only that, you can also use it with Yachio. Why Yachio in particular? Because she's a regen rather than a burst heal. You're constantly going to heal yourself, and that way you're going to survive. You, depending on the number of copies that you have, you can go for damage increase or Suruga, basically critical rate increase. So I'm gonna use Suruga because of the number of copies, but if you have enough copies and you crit consistently, maybe you want damage increase with Torajiro, Core Phantasma, or something like that. So, now let's change a little bit the skills. So, basically we would go the same way, but let me check. Spread shot. Yeah, since I don't need the healing, I can commit to going with the basic and a spread shot. I mean, I could equip the Taunter, and that would be more effective, the summon. But honestly, the turret is not going to give me value, and I want to use other skills because you already saw the ones that I have over here. And now that they are all gathered together, did I just eliminate them? Oh, okay, that was fast. And I don't even have that much damage increase, guys. Remember, oh well, I do have the awakening skills for sure, but I mean on the supporter department. Oh yeah, using Mirabel when confused is kind of difficult. I don't know why. Perhaps the camera. And as you notice, the camera is way different than what we have in most with most characters, which I like. But the problem is that in some scenarios, the game doesn't know what to do with the camera. So yeah, don't get close to the walls, if at all possible. So yeah, that's something to take into consideration. So I just evade and there. Take this. Destroyed. Oh, again confused. Okay, nice. Pretty easy, pretty simple. I just need a couple more hits. And as you can see, while I do receive hits, I don't receive too much damage. While I am at the end game here, you're gonna receive damage, but you're gonna survive. And you're gonna have the constant healing. Rather than waiting for your skill, you're just gonna pay particles. And in case you don't have particles, you can just use the active of Yachio to gain more particles. Which is really useful. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I destroyed them both. Now, I go for Edwin, and I hit him with the ultimate. Yeah, the explosion deals damage. Remember that it's super important, and that's why you want to be next to the enemy right about the time you're gonna explode. Or well, I don't know if it's an AoE attack. I assume it is an AoE attack, but that only covers the nearby area. But it could might as well be the whole screen. I don't know. Well, now let's go with another color. Let's go with blue. Okay, so we know that Mirabel works pretty well with her own supporter because she gains the damage reduction, because she gains the extra effect of the buff that increases the speed of machine type characters, because of the amount of multi. It's just disgustingly good for her. But this is for supporters. If you want to go full offensive, you can go with something like Kurenai or maybe Arabella. I mean, honestly, there's not that many options. Nowadays, Uraru is kind of outdated. She is still good, but she's not at 40% damage increase or more. So that's why I don't use her. Instead, I have over here the Founding Tree, but just substitute this with whatever damage increase you have, and that will be fine. In fact, using... where is Lilim? Using Lilim should be more than enough. Over here, Lilim. And over here I have Ana Rose. I am using Ana Rose particularly because I don't have enough copies of the weapons, so to increase my critical rate. As for skills, Full Metal Jacket, Spread Shot, and Storm Missile. So, since I'm going solo, I will use Full Metal Jacket. Another option is to use Riot Tackle. But remember this, I don't have healing here. So, I don't want to get near the enemy. That's why I use this combo. And Storm Missile, fortunately, it's a range attack. I mean, it seems like a close range attack, but it is a long range attack. So, we just destroy the enemy. Like this. Pretty simple. Oh yeah, and I have to use the active as much as possible. Yeah. Nice. Damage, and I also use the ultimate. Perfect. As you can see, it's pretty decent. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't transition into dealing damage, but that's fine. Let's see, I just move, and just in a couple more seconds, I'll have the buff to become way faster, and just avoid the enemies and deal damage. Yeah, you can see the camera can be very annoying at some point. There should be a toggle so that we can turn this kind of camera on and off. Not that I don't like it, but in some stages it's gonna be very annoying. That's the only issue I have with this. So yeah, Mirabel is pretty good. But not only can she do this, she also has another build that you can use, or another approach, let's say, that you can use on blue. So we can use supporters. No, let's see. We can use the summons. I could go double summon. I will go no. Same command. No, I don't want to use it because I want this. So I'll keep a spreadshot. What I'm going to do here is that I'm going to change this for Fairy Sakura. Sakura. And also, in case you struggle with HP, just equip Kurenai. Kurenai is just amazing. I mean, she's great. With this, we already have a ton of damage and a ton of damage reduction with a regen. It is extremely useful. Just, wait. Let's change that. Let's change that to Bunny. Green Bunny. Just do not abuse the active too much. You do want to use the active of the supporter, but you don't want to abuse it too much because you need to kill the enemy without them killing you. That is. And with that, done. So yeah, that's it. That's the reason why we use this. We have damage, defense reduction with someone that is going to distract the enemy, and a really competent attack. I just need to do this. Nice. And I do the summon. And what just happened? I don't see anything. Nice. Yeah. Careful with the walls. The walls are your biggest enemy when playing with Mirabel. Nice. Perfect. And there. Now I summon this. Perfect. Yeah, I sometimes I love that pulling attack because it is extremely easy to activate the perfect dodge whenever I have it equipped. So it's not that bad. And the super armor, the super armor of Mirabel can just be amazing against those. Honestly, it's like she's built against Edwin. So, at least Edwin in his human form. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the ultimate. And I'm also going to use the active of the supporter to have massive amount of damage. And now nice, perfect. There. A spread shot and done. pretty easily. Pretty easy, you see? So that's why you want to use Shadow Fairy Sakura. It's extremely useful. As well as Massacre Kurenai. I hope you have this supporter. It is amazing. Now, let's go with red. Red is a little bit unfortunate. As I mentioned, it depends too much on critical. And you don't want to use the turret because the damage increase is not that impressive. On the other hand, getting a 20% damage increase buff, it is definitely useful. So, spread shot, I mentioned that it can be used, but in this challenging content, the enemies have super armor, so we're gonna avoid that one. So what can we equip? We can go with Blitzkrieg or Riot Tackle or Full Metal Jacket. That's gonna be basically the build for red. Scramble is an option, sure, if you're overwhelmed. But technically you shouldn't if you have Assemble. So I'm gonna go with Blitzkrieg just so that you can see the animation on red. And let's change the color of the bunny because it has red, matching perfectly. So for red, of course, we're gonna use Baretta, no doubt about that. And you could use Azusa on the main particularly, but I am not. I don't have healing, as I mentioned. So since this is not a team battle, I'm going to be using Susune. Lastly, over here, I'm going to be using where is you can use just anything, like for example Estella. Yukina I do not recommend because you do use the basics, so that's something. You can use Asuka, yes you can, and you can abuse this. Not only with this, with the weapon too. You can use Ingrid, yes. Ingrid is particularly good for this character, for Mirabell, but this is a supporter that not many people have. Then, what can we equip? Let me check. Yeah, multiple enemies, Fuyutsuki. Yeah, definitely Fuyutsuki. So, again, we're using the same weapon, same build. So, well, not same build, but same equipment. Now, let's do this super fast. And what we do with this is that we first evade and then we use our skills. Because that way we deal the most damage. Dash attack. Nice. Perfect. But as you can see, I'm not obliterating everything just like I do with green. So the damage is not what what we would like to see. It's just a little bit below below blue. That's why I say this is the worst color. Usable for sure, but we cannot compare it. It's just that Mirabell needs more attack buffs. If this skill, Blitzkrieg, gave another attack buff, that would be amazing. Or maybe a critical damage buff. Okay, I'll use the ultimate, why not? Thinking about it, it's probably the best thing to do. Because as I mentioned, I lack in the damage department right now. Hey, no, Edwin, come closer, come closer. There. Nice. Perfect. As you can see, pretty decent. Now, next thing I have to do is just evade and, same as always, attack. Then I have to use the active because I'm lacking damage. I'm lacking HP. Let's see. This is going to be bad if I let myself get hit. So I have to use the summon wisely so that they don't kill me. Yeah, this is what Mirabel is going to feel in most cases, because I'm showing you basically the end game, what she is able to do. But when she doesn't have the damage to obliterate the enemy, uh, she needs to abuse the summon. Okay, supporter, nice. And now I just do this attack that deals a ton of damage, as long as it crits. I mean, in general, it does deal more damage than other skills, so that's good. Yep. Yes, 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 yes. Oof. Nice, nice damage. Yep. There we go. So, probably red is the one that has the least combination of builds. So, take that into consideration. Because you can, yes, you can use combat turret, but as I mentioned, it doesn't provide as much utility as assemble. And if you want to use both at the same time, the best option would be to go with blue, so that you abuse the summons. Or, no, yeah, with blue, definitely blue. Yeah. Now, let's check what she can do in total. No, no, not in Total War. In VR. I don't have her ready for Total War. So, over here, step 60, and I have this build. So, we already know Mirabel, and I'm going to explain her specific build right now, but let's go very quickly with the supporters. So, well, I say supporter, but Ragnarok over here is going to be the main damage dealer. So, she's going to be using her pack weapon with Electric Magatamas, 5 out of 5, plus 15 everything over here. Obviously, Anti-Machine Magatamas, Snowstorm, Frostwind, Icicle Zone with Misaki, Storm, oh well, Tempest Lina, and Armed Saika. Yeah, to increase damage and gain a little bit of penetration. Stats of the skins, stats of the stat training. And now let's go with Emily. Emily fulfills the role of taunter / healer. So, she's going to... Oops. I didn't save the Magatamas. Let's see. Let me check. What can I equip to her? Maybe these ones? Yes. Okay. Okay. That works. That works. So, since she's going to receive the hits, I'm using the wood effect, of course, anti-machine. She wants to receive the hits because she has the weapon and she gains a ton of damage reduction. Then she has healing field because since she's going to receive the hits, it's very likely that she uses the perfect dodge, and that's going to heal the party. Then we have Drone Shocker. Drone Shocker just because it is a big AoE that hits everyone and gets buffed by the weapon. But you could you might as well use Counter Bomb to snare the enemy. Lastly, we have Axe Impact just to deal damage. I mean, it doesn't deal as much damage because it doesn't crit, but it is a pure color skill nonetheless. Then, for supporters, we have Susune, yeah, to heal, to snare, and to increase damage to debuff enemies. We also have Major to reduce damage taken, and Fujutsuki because there's a bunch of mobs in this particular stage, but you can change Fujutsuki for whatever you need. And in fact, you may change this particular supporter, or well, character, for whatever other taunter that you want. Maybe Murasaki or Phantasma, those are excellent taunters. Now, Mirabel, what is she going to do in this build? Because we're going to do a different one too. So, we are going to use the Momochi weapon with Anti-Machine, Wind Magatamas, whatever Magatamas on the subplot, both plus 14, but this one 2 out of 5 and this one 1 out of 5. Then, we're going to use Riot Tackle and Spread Shot with Full Metal Jacket. I could change Full Metal Jacket for Storm Missiles, but I don't really care about my damage. I am a supporter that is going to shred the enemy's defenses. That's why we use these skills. And then we have Mirabel of course, to increase the damage of the party, to reduce the enemies, reduce the enemy's defense with our crits, and because of the Momochi weapon and Mirabell's supporter's passive, we're gonna use Pride and Arose so that we can guarantee those crits, and we also have Lapis to give even more debuffs. So let's see. I mean, it is disgustingly good. It shreds the enemies, guys. I mean, not that Mirabell's particularly shreds the enemies, but rather everyone else. So I buff them. And I don't need to use the ultimate. I just need to apply those debuffs. And done. It is done. I mean, it's step 60. I'm already at the end game. But honestly, it is a pretty aggressive build. That's why I don't care about my damage or my ultimate, because this Mirabell is supposed to provide debuffs for the party to take advantage. And now, let's do the other build. We're gonna use... let me just change these Magatemes and the weapon. So we were using Wind Anti-Machine. Wind Anti-Machine. There we go. Unequip, equip. And over here it was Earth, right? So equip. There we go. So this has less S levels, but it doesn't matter. I want to show you the pros and cons of this weapon. Basically, the problem is that her particle charge isn't insane. Due to the amount of volt hits they have to balance the particle charge of this character, which is a shame. It should have been a little higher. Not like too much, but a little higher. And also, the other problem with the weapon is the animation for the active. It takes some time, which is annoying when you want to break the super armor. If used properly, you can abuse it, yeah, but you need to be committed to use this. So, in any case, let's go for the particle charge build. First of all, we want to have Maika. But let me tell you, you can use Maika or you can use New Year Natsu. Both Fire God Maika and New Year Natsu are viable options on the main. If you can equip Maika on the sub, you still want her. But if you don't have Maika, you can just equip Hikage. Hikage is going to give you particle charge. You don't have Hikage, not to worry. We also have Momoko. And you don't have Momoko, well, not to worry. We also have another supporter that I don't know which it is, but it's an R supporter, and you can let me know in the comments which R supporter it is. It also gives particle charge, and I think it's red, but I don't think I have her. Reduce damage taken against demons, increase XP. It's probably on the exchange facility. That's why I don't have it. But well, in any case, I'm gonna equip Hikage. Where is Hikage? I just showed Hikage. Where is she? Or is it? Oh, it's equipped. That's why. Now, we're gonna use the best supporter for particle charge, and that's Ingrid. So, since we have this, we want to use... what do we want to use? Let me check. We definitely want to use this to gain speed increase, so that we charge particles faster. We do want to use Full Metal Jacket to get that extra particle charge increase. And we can use Riot Tackles so that we are able to transition quickly into the speed buffs. And we always have some kind of a speed buff. So, if you have to decide what to put in the main slot, it's either Maika or Natsu. Natsu, because she is going to have a chance to drop particles, and Maika because with her actives she recharges particles. So let me just show you super quickly. The thing with this is that when you're fighting against multiple enemies, you have to let them come together so that you use the active properly. And let's see. Yeah, breaking the super armor. Breaking the super armor. Okay, you see how fast I charge that? And how I just break the super armor of the blue one? It's nice, it's nice. Unfortunately, it is not that useful against... Whoa, the red one is done. Yeah, I think it only hits one enemy, but... I mean, it is pretty abusable. The issue is that you don't want to do this specific build against multiple enemies. It's better to use it against a single enemy. Yep, don't move. Nice. Perfect. So, yeah, it is not as busted as I thought. Particularly because the time of the active is... the time it takes to fire the active is really annoying. But it's definitely usable. And besides, you can do some silly things. With this one? Yeah, I guess. I just need homing bullet instead. And yeah, we can just pair it with another user of White Feather Aska, so that we always just destroy the super armor of everything. So, up to you guys, up to you. In fact, I could use the green skill with Emily, just so that she is able to... Just so that she's able to break the super armor more easily, even though she's going red. Yup. Break that super armor. Yeah, but unfortunately I don't see that much damage. Maybe because of the... No, it's not the buffs. That's weird. Maybe it's just the floor. And I break the super armor and so on and so forth. Yeah, pretty simple. And we can use the active to gain more particles. And we also take those particles. Yeah, also another thing to take into consideration is to use maybe teammates who have stuns or groggy effects. That would be pretty useful if you're breaking the super armor. So, just a quick highlight before we finish. Remember to use maybe Rin in your team if you want to equip the newly added Rin supporter. We also have... You can use this Rin supporter, you can use White Feather Aska and the weapon for Mirabell to just break the super armor. So, let's just finish with Mirabell by checking her weapons on the collection. Weapons, Mirabell, over here. So, what does she has? Oddly enough, she does have a couple good R's, according to her gameplay, and that's the particle charge R. But due to the stats, it's preferable not to use it. Unfortunate. Then we have Plasma Rifle, which is damage against humans. As we know, anti-trade is extremely useful, but you're only going to use them on specific scenarios. Then we have the Vasiravana, which gives you critical rate. not that great. Critical damage is way better. Then we have Cleansing Everwhite. Cleansing Everwhite is going to be the pack weapon, ambitious weapon. Increases particle charge amount from attacks by 70% up to 140%. Restores 30% of particle gauge when ultimate effect ends. That's nice. Increases damage by 50% while wearing exoskeleton. That's also nice. Damage increases up to 100%. And that means not only the ultimate, but also the skills. While moving, damage increases by 4% per second, stack up to 10 times, up to 40%. If stationary, one stack is removed per second. Guys, this weapon is busted. If you want to play Mirabel solo, you didn't get it and you bought the character, you can buy it whenever you want. Issue with this, you need to use a good amount of Demonites to max this out. So that's why I didn't. I already did it with Ragnarok and I'm not gonna do it again, even though the weapon is amazing. Then we have the Cherry Blossom weapon, which increases damage against Groggy, which can be useful as we mentioned, but you would have to change weapons between the Valiant Seeger and Cherry Blossom. So, a little bit complex. Then we have Valiant Seeger. Yeah, as we've mentioned, increases range attack damage by 15% up to 30%. 30% just cause. That's pretty good. But not all of her attacks are ranged. Keep that in mind. And fires a single bullet that deals damage equal to 780% or 560% of attack, and destroys enemies' super armor. Yeah, the bullet is not that impressive. The super armor break is useful, but preferably you use this against a single boss, not against LWS squad. We also have obviously the PvP weapons and the Momochi weapon. Also pretty useful because of the amount of multi-hits and how fast Mirabel hits. Because Mirabel, I think she hits harder than Emily. Let's just check that very quickly. We're gonna put them on the same scenario. So, characters. We're gonna put Emily without supporters and without equipment, just to check if she's as strong. And let's look at the basics. Let's look at the basics with the... Oh, wait a moment. I'll have to use the R weapon because I don't have the wood weapon for Mirabel right now. Now that I think about it. I'll just use this and... I think I have Mirabel's weapon the same without leveling. Yeah, perfect. As it is. So, just to compare them both and see how much damage the basics do. So, with this weapon, she's doing like 1,600, and if it crits 4,300. What about Mirabel? Does she deal more damage with her basics? Because they are technically slower than Emily's, but I think they are stronger too. So, unequip. Just to answer that question, I equip whatever, and I go over here. Yeah, she's definitely stronger. Her basics are stronger than Emily's, but she's a little bit slower, which compensates the fact that the basics are stronger. So that's good. So should you get Mirabel? If you're a newer player, no. The only exception would be if you got a bunch of her weapons. Then in that case, okay. But for the most part, this is not a character that newer players want to use. It's not easy to build. It requires supporters to just deal a bunch of damage with all of her skills and also be able to heal properly. She's going to be very fragile at the start of the game, even the mid game. But once you have a good amount of awakening skills on the defensive department, you're going to be able to just use this character freely without worrying about her dying. So, not that you should get it right away. You're at the end game and you want this character? Well, get it. It's actually very useful. It is pretty good for a supporter. It is not busted as a damage dealer. But, I mean, you can have fun with this. I'm really enjoying the tactical approach of this character. It is pretty unique compared to other characters. It's extremely fun to use. But I do not recommend that you get it right away. Save some resources, prepare for equipping this character, and then at that moment you can buy her. So, well, what do you think about the characters, guys? Did you like her? Did you not like her? Do you like Fuertota? Well, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!